Hello there, my name is Makor and welcome to a series where I show you random BBS mod features that you should know about. Quick disclaimer, if you carefully watched my other videos, then you might know majority of showcased features here. However, I'm confident that even experienced users sometimes skip certain parts of tutorials to get to the juicy part. So, treat this series as a wiki or something. Check chapters, watch those parts that you've never heard about, and skip what appears to be something you already know. Without further ado, let's get into it. The first feature I want to showcase you is the F9 panel. If you press F9, you can see here a list of currently available hotkeys. For example, here I have Move to, and if I press Ctrl F, it would move the model block's form to whatever I have the cursor hovered on. For example, then if I press E, it would open the form editing menu, or P, it would open the list of all forms. So, this feature is very useful because you can see what capabilities you have, and it works everywhere in BBS model's dashboard. So for example, I go here, I can see here and it opens the films data manager. This is a feature that I think everyone who uses BBS mod should know about. The second feature I want to showcase here is F6 overlay panel. If you press F6, you would see a utility panel appear. Here you have a quick access to important folders that are related to BBS mod. For example, models is where the models would go, then audio tracks is where all of the audio tracks would go, and so on. Reload section allows you to reload certain aspects of the BBS mod. For example, if you have texture that doesn't refresh, you can click on textures and refresh all textures. Language is if you messed up with the language editor, or language strings, it allows you to reload the language. Then models, if for example some model you re-exported doesn't get updated, you can click on models and would update the model. And if the soundtrack or audio track has bugged out and doesn't play anymore, or maybe a waveform doesn't appear, you can try reloading all of the audio tracks with this button. The next we have resize window. Here, if you have a need to make a screenshot of a specific resolution and your screen is big enough, you can for example change it to 13:6 to 768 and then take a screenshot with that resolution in Minecraft, which is very useful. Language strings is more for translators. If you want, you can mess around and change here, for example, recent morphs, recent forms, and if you change here, it would appear instantly and you can save. This could be used either for translating the BBS mod to a new language. For example, like, I don't know, we don't have like Polish translation, for example, and if you are speaking Polish, you can translate. Or you can just mess around and make it funny or something like haha forms or something like that. So yeah, it's very powerful tool for translators, I think. But overall, it's only used for translation or for funny labels. And then finally, Open Audio Editor allows you to open an audio editor, which I'm gonna show later in this video. But overall, it's a very useful for reloading and quick access to specific folders. In Blockbuster mode, there was a toggle that allows you to scale all fields at once. However, in BBS mode, there is no such toggle, but there are two ways to scale all of these fields uniformly. The first one is start dragging and then press right mouse button, and it would also start uniform scaling. The second approach is start dragging and then press space, and it would also uniform scale. BBS mod has this very convenient feature called media importing. What it does is basically essentially we have here a couple of files that are not exactly to the liking of BBS mod. For example, for exception of Ninja.png, this is the old skin format, this is a video with audio, then there is an audio file that is in MP3 instead of .wav or .ogg, and there is a GIF that isn't supported natively. So what you can do, whenever you have dashboard opened, you can drag and drop file. For example, if I drag and drop Herobrine, it would open the assets folder where the textures can be accessed from the picker, for example, and then you would see it gets converted from 32 to 64 format to the new 1.8. It's more convenient when you edit the actual form, then pick texture and actually drag and drop Herobrine here. As for example, meme haha.mp4, MP4 files can be converted into the audio, so you could use the audio from the video file. It doesn't convert the video itself into sequence of frames, that would be too many textures. However, the audio is more than less fine. Same with MP3 files, you can go and drag and drop and it would convert MP3 to WAV. And finally, the GIF. GIF isn't supported by default, but if you drag and drop it, it's gonna get converted to a sequence of frames with a number of frames for every frame, which can be used by BBS mod's keyframes to animate in between those frames. Sometimes when you get an audio track into a BBS mod, it's really difficult to see what's what, because for example there could be a lot of volume and you cannot see the transition between one voice line to another, or the music is just too loud and doesn't have exactly a lot of room where you can see what's going on and synchronize. So for such occasions, BBS mod offers in the Utilities panel an audio editor. So click on audio editor, pick the audio track you want to use, and then here you can take and, for example, let's say I want to mark the intro with one color, so I add color code, and then I can basically move around this basically clip, change the color. For example, I want to be red, and then this is gonna mark this part of the waveform as red. For example, go save it and you would see in the background it's changed. And then again I can hold Control and then drag, and for example mark this part as something else of another color, and then I can do one more time, and then finally the outro is gonna be one other color. So if I go and press save, you can see that the waveform was colored with the same color that we had, and this makes it easier to animate specific parts. For example, you can take and quickly set up so that specific parts of the dialogue is gonna be, for example, one character is gonna be in red and the other one is blue, and then you can this way easily predict when you have to bob the head or something like that. This is very useful. In BBS mode you would see fields like this a lot. These fields allow you to edit conveniently numerical values. So for example, I can drag horizontally in order to change the value, and I can use the arrow buttons on the sides. I could input manually like some number I want, and so on. But beside that, you can also evaluate math expressions. So you can add, you can subtract, you can multiply, and you can divide. Beside that, you can also mix and match these expressions and even use parentheses, something like that. This is very useful when you need to calculate something quickly, and for example you need to divide by 7, but it's pretty difficult to do in your head, and you would need to open the calculator app. And this is very convenient that you can do it directly in the field. Whenever you have a unique form that you want to preserve, and so you'll be able to use it in another world, or just like reuse it later on in the same world or in the film or in a model block, what you can do is you can create a new category, for example my course, and you can add the form either by copying and then pasting, or by copy to category and then copy to my course. This way, whenever I gonna quit the game or I'm gonna go to another world, this form would persist here, which is really useful. I don't think I've told about this feature a lot of times, but whenever you have a transformation field like this, and in F9 you can see transformation keys GSR, you can edit the transformation without actually dragging the fields manually. How does this work? You have three keys: R for rotation, G for translation, and S for scale. By default, rotation, translation, and scale works on the same axis X, but you can change the axis by pressing the same key again. For example, G, it translates on Y-axis, and then G again to Z, and it's gonna cycle again to X, Y, Z, and so on. Beside that, you can also start from rotating, then you can press Y to change the Y-axis, X again, and then Z, for example, like this. Beside that, you need to know that if you want to accept this transformation, you either press Enter or left mouse button, or if you want to reject the transformation that you applied, if for example you didn't like, you can press right mouse button or Escape. And finally, for the scale, there's a special thing. If you scale and hold Alt, you can scale on all axes. So for example, I can scale like this and then bring up the character. It's a very convenient feature, and if you train the muscle memory, you would be able probably to pose your character much faster. However, the problem with this is that it's not respecting the camera position. For example, if I start rotating, it doesn't respect actually how the camera is, or for example, if I translate and stuff like that. You have to see where the local translation is. And this feature is also gonna be reworked in future updates because I want it to be more like in Blender. But overall, I think it's a very nice feature. In the texture picker, you can conveniently navigate through the list using vertical arrow keys up and down. So for example, if I want to use PPAP tabby skin, I just go and pick a different one and then press enter to confirm it. Besides that, you can also type in the beginning of the name. For example, if I want to pick dark and mage, I can just type in DA and then enter and it would pick the skin. Besides that, you can also use arrow keys to basically navigate and then return back the same way and skin. And there you go, it's very convenient. Whenever there is not enough space in UI or I don't want to clutter the user interface with extra elements, I tend to hide features in context menu. For example, here if I right click, you would see there is a context menu with a couple of options. If I select, there is even more options because now I can do something with the keyframes. Same applies to other elements. For example, play pause button has a context menu, teleport to, and record video, which has pretty cool take a screenshot, open videos folder, and render audio from audio clips. So if you have audio clips here, you can render all of them together into a single WAV file. Beside that, lists usually have right click, you see like here, right, like it prompts you to right click and you can do all the things here. And then with the Films with Data Manager panel, you can also hear some useful features. So keep in mind that sometimes I hide these extra features and you can be surprised what you can find when right clicking on some element. So that's pretty much it. I really hope that at least half of these features were unknown to you so that you could have learned something new, but also it would save you time in the long run by using these features. Besides that, I want to say that there are gonna be more videos in this format because I have more features in the idea stash, but I don't think it's a good idea to release them all at once. So yeah, thank you very much for watching and goodbye!